Have you ever wondered why certain people enter your life like thieves in the night, not to steal your possessions, but to plunder the very essence of your psyche, leaving you hollow and questioning the sanctity of your own soul? In the shadowed realms of human connection, where the unconscious dances with the ego, Carl Jung whispers warnings through the archetypes that govern our deepest interactions. These are not mere acquaintances or fleeting lovers, they are the projections of unresolved shadows, demanding from you what they cannot give themselves. And in this dance of attraction and repulsion, the wise woman learns to discern the 5 insidious requests that signal a soul not ready for true union, a soul mired in its own fragmentation, seeking to feed on yours rather than foster mutual individuation. Consider the first of these veiled demands, the plea for unwavering reassurance, a constant echo of, "Do you still love me?" or "Am I enough for you?" that reverberates through the corridors of your shared moments. This is no innocent query born of vulnerability, it is the ego's projection, a desperate attempt to outsource the work of self-validation onto your shoulders. Jung would see this as the anima's distortion in the male unconscious, or the animus in the female, where the asker has not confronted their own inferiority complex, that gnawing shadow that whispers inadequacy from within. Instead, they cast it outward, onto you, compelling you to become their mirror, their salve, their eternal affirmant. But you, the empowered seeker of wholeness, must recognize this as a theft of your psychic energy. Why should your light be dimmed to illuminate another's unexamined darkness? In the Stoic wisdom of Epictetus, we are reminded that what disturbs us is not events themselves, but our judgments of them, yet here, the asker forces you into the role of judge, jury, and redeemer, all while evading their own court of self-reflection. This demand erodes the boundaries of your individuation, that sacred Jungian process of integrating the conscious and unconscious into a unified self. When someone incessantly seeks your validation, they are not loving you, they are using you as a crutch for their fractured ego, projecting their unmet needs from childhood traumas, perhaps an absent parent or a critical caregiver, onto your present reality. Modern psychology echoes this in the language of attachment theory, where anxious patterns breed codependency, turning relationships into battlegrounds of emotional hunger. Imagine yourself, poised on the precipice of self-discovery, only to be pulled back by their grasping hands, their words like chains binding you to their unresolved wounds. You feel it, don't you? That subtle drain, the way your vitality seeps away with each reassurance uttered, leaving you less whole, less radiant. And yet, the empowered woman, attuned to her inner Stoic resilience as Marcus Aurelius counseled, to focus on what is within her control, steps back. She understands that true connection arises not from filling voids but from two complete beings choosing to walk side by side. Seneca would urge detachment here, for the happy life is to have a mind that is free, lofty, fearless, and steadfast. To yield to this demand is to betray your own path toward individuation, allowing their shadow to eclipse your light. Instead, observe it with the detachment of the analyst, this is their work, not yours. By withdrawing, you honor the alchemical process within, transforming base need into golden self-sufficiency. But the shadows deepen with the second request, one that masquerades as concern but reveals a controller's grip, the insistence that you alter your essence, your habits, your very way of being, under the guise of improvement or compromise. Why can't you be more like this, they probe, or, if you loved me, you'd change that about yourself. Here lies the archetype of the devouring parent, the tyrannical animus projecting its rigid ideals onto your fluid psyche. Jung warned of such projections, where the unintegrated aspects of one's unconscious are thrust upon another, demanding conformity to an illusion rather than embracing the authentic self. This is no path to mutual growth, it is an assault on your autonomy, a subtle erosion of the ego's defenses that leaves you fragmented, doubting the validity of your own instincts. In the female unconscious, this demand awakens the wounded maiden, that part of you conditioned by societal myths to mold yourself for approval, to shrink your vastness into palatable forms. But heed the Stoic call of Epictetus, don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well. To acquiesce is to invite trauma's echo, replaying patterns of low self-worth where your value is contingent on transformation, not inherent divinity. You sense the provocation rising within, why must you contort your soul to fit their fractured mold? This request is a mirror to their own disowned shadows, their fear of the unpredictable, the wild feminine that defies control. As you navigate these treacherous waters, the third demand emerges like a serpent from the depths, the call for your silence, your complicity in ignoring red flags or burying truths that unsettle their fragile equilibrium. Don't bring that up again, they implore, or, let's just pretend it didn't happen. This is the shadow's evasion tactic, a refusal to engage in the necessary work of confrontation and integration. Jung's concept of shadow work demands we face these hidden facets, yet the asker shuns this, projecting their denial onto you, compelling you to collude in their self-deception. In doing so, they stifle your voice, that vital expression of the authentic self striving for individuation. Modern trauma psychology illuminates this as gaslighting's cousin, where repeated suppression rewires your neural pathways toward self-doubt, eroding the trust in your perceptions. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, implores us to reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears, but when the injury is in forced silence, it festers in the unconscious, breeding resentment and disconnection. You, the woman awakening to her power, feel the stir of rebellion. Why should your truth be sacrificed on the altar of their comfort? This demand chains you to their unhealed wounds, preventing the rebirth that comes from honest dialogue. The dance of shadows continues, weaving through the psyche like threads of a tapestry unraveling under scrutiny. The fourth demand emerges, insidious and cloaked in the guise of devotion, the expectation that you surrender your time, your dreams, your very essence to prioritize their needs above your own. This is not the gentle give and take of mutual love, but a one-sided extraction, where your energy becomes their sustenance, your ambitions relegated to the periphery of their world. Why can't you be there for me, they ask, or, if you cared, you'd put this first. In the Jungian lens, this is the archetype of the vampire, the shadow self that feeds on another's vitality to compensate for its own lack of inner fire. The one who demands your sacrifice has not faced their own emptiness, their failure to cultivate a self-sufficient soul, and so they turn to you, not as a partner, but as a source. This demand strikes at the heart of individuation, that sacred journey toward wholeness where the ego and unconscious align in harmony. Jung spoke of the necessity to reclaim projections, to cease seeing others as the solution to our inner voids. Yet here, the asker projects their unintegrated anima or animus onto you, demanding you fill the role of nurturer, savior, or eternal caretaker. In doing so, they pull you from your own path, tempting you to abandon the work of becoming whole for the fleeting approval of their need. Modern psychology would frame this as a trauma bond, where the giver is conditioned to equate love with self-erasure, often rooted in early wounds of neglect or abandonment. You feel it, don't you? That subtle weight, the way your dreams dim under the pressure of their expectations, the way your soul whispers for freedom while your heart aches to please. But the empowered woman, guided by the Stoic wisdom of Seneca, knows that no one can live happily who has regard to himself alone and transforms everything into a question of his own utility. To yield to this demand is to betray your own becoming, to let their shadow eclipse the light of your potential. Marcus Aurelius would remind you to do what is necessary and whatever the reason of a social animal requires, but this does not mean sacrificing your essence. It means honoring the balance of self and other, where love is a choice, not a debt. You are not their salvation, nor should you be. By stepping back, you reclaim the space to grow, to nurture your own soul's fire, and to walk the path of individuation unburdened by their hunger. Yet the shadows grow darker still, coalescing into the fifth and final demand, the insistence that you absorb their pain, their chaos, their unresolved wounds as if they were your own. Fix me, they plead, not with words but with actions, through cycles of drama, blame, or self-inflicted crises that demand your intervention. This is the archetype of the wounded child, unintegrated and rampant, seeking a parent in you to heal what they refuse to face. Jung would see this as the ultimate projection of the shadow, where the unexamined traumas of the asker are thrust upon you, compelling you to carry their psychic load. They do not seek partnership but rescue, not love but absolution, pulling you into the undertow of their unresolved past. In the realm of modern psychology, this mirrors the dynamics of emotional enmeshment, where boundaries dissolve, and your nervous system becomes entangled with theirs, leaving you drained, anxious, and disconnected from your own center. Trauma research shows how such demands can dysregulate your emotional core, mimicking the hypervigilance of early survival mechanisms. You know this feeling, the way your chest tightens when their chaos erupts, the way your peace fractures under their storms. Why should your soul bear the weight of their unhealed scars? Epictetus would counsel detachment. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Their pain is not your burden, nor is their healing your responsibility. To engage is to risk losing yourself in their labyrinth, forsaking the clarity of your own journey. The woman who walks the path of empowerment, inspired by Jung's call to integrate the shadow, recognizes these demands for what they are, invitations to lose herself. Each request, reassurance, conformity, silence, sacrifice, or rescue, is a mirror reflecting the asker's unhealed wounds, their refusal to confront the chaos within. But you, standing at the crossroads of self-awareness, feel the stir of rebellion, the fire of your own worth igniting. You are not here to be their mirror, their martyr, or their savior. You are here to become whole, to weave the threads of your conscious and unconscious into a tapestry of strength and sovereignty. The Stoic resilience of Marcus Aurelius echoes within: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By refusing these demands, you reclaim your psychic space, honoring the divine feminine that seeks not to fix others but to rise in her own truth. As you turn away from these shadowed requests, you step into a deeper alignment with your own soul. The process of individuation demands courage, the willingness to face your own shadows rather than carry another's. It is not selfishness but selfhood, not rejection but discernment. The woman who knows her worth does not bend to the projections of others, she stands tall, rooted in the wisdom of her own psyche, guided by the ancient truths of Jung and the timeless clarity of Stoic philosophy. You feel the shift, don't you? The liberation that comes from saying no, from choosing your own path over their demands, from trusting that your light is enough. In the quiet aftermath of recognition, the psyche begins its alchemical transformation, turning the lead of enmeshment into the gold of sovereignty. The woman who has glimpsed these 5 demands, reassurance as a vampire's thirst, conformity as a cage, silence as a gag, sacrifice as a bleeding altar, and rescue as a drowning grasp, stands at the threshold of her own rebirth. Jung's individuation is not a gentle stroll but a fierce confrontation with the archetypes that bind us, those eternal patterns etched into the collective unconscious. To stay entangled with such souls is to invite the shadow's tyranny, where your ego, still tender in its growth, becomes subsumed by their projections. The male unconscious, with its distorted anima seeking motherly redemption, or the female's animus demanding paternal authority, these forces clash not in harmony but in domination, leaving scars on the soul's canvas. Picture the toll of lingering, a slow erosion of self-worth, where modern trauma's imprints, those neural echoes of abandonment or criticism, amplify into chronic doubt. You awaken each dawn not to your own light but to their needs, your dreams deferred like Seneca's warnings against the slavery of desire. We are more often frightened than hurt, he wrote, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. Yet in this reality, the suffering is tangible, the anxiety that coils in your chest, the resentment that festers unspoken, the fragmentation that pulls you from wholeness. The empowered observer sees this not as fate but as choice, a Stoic exercise in discerning what lies within control. Epictetus bids you to release the external. If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses, but answer, he was ignorant of my other faults, else he would have mentioned them too. So too with these demands, they reveal the asker's ignorance of their own depths, not your inadequacy. But you, attuned to the feminine unconscious, feel the provocation stirring, the wild call to reclaim your autonomy, to integrate the shadow that once whispered, please others first. This is the path of emotional freedom, where detachment blooms not from coldness but from profound self-love. Jung taught that true union arises only when 2 individuated souls meet, free from the hooks of projection. To detach is to honor this, to withdraw your energy from their vortex and redirect it inward, fostering the inner peace that Marcus Aurelius described as a kingdom within. Imagine the liberation, days unbound by their pleas, nights filled with your own reflections, the psyche expanding like a river unchained. Modern psychology supports this with the science of boundaries, where enforcing them rewires the brain toward resilience, healing the wounds that once made you susceptible to such entanglements. As the shadows recede, the archetypes shift, from victim to sovereign, from maiden to wise crone. The woman who stays away does so not in fear but in wisdom, recognizing that these demands are symptoms of a soul unready for depth, trapped in the ego's illusions. They ask because they have not done the work, the grueling shadow integration, the confrontation with childhood specters, the Stoic practice of virtue over vice. You sense the empowerment rising, don't you? That inner fire, once dimmed, now blazing as you choose solitude over subjugation, growth over stagnation. This detachment is the ultimate act of compassion, for yourself and even for them, allowing space for their own awakening, should they choose it. In this space of freedom, the psyche breathes anew, unburdened by the weight of another's chaos. Individuation accelerates, the conscious and unconscious weaving into a tapestry of strength, where projections dissolve like mist in sunlight. Seneca's counsel rings true, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. To waste it on these 5 traps is to squander your essence, but to walk away is to reclaim every moment for your becoming. The emotional charge builds, the exhilaration of self-possession, the peace that settles like dew on a dawn meadow. You are no longer the rescuer, the conformer, the silent accomplice, you are the architect of your soul, building fortresses of self-worth against the storms of others' unrest. Yet the journey deepens, revealing layers of the collective unconscious where these patterns repeat across lifetimes, archetypes echoing through myths and histories. The devouring mother, the tyrannical father, these lurk in the demands, seeking to perpetuate cycles of dependency. Breaking free requires the Stoic's unflinching gaze, the Jungian's introspective dive, transforming trauma into triumph. Modern insights into self-worth psychology affirm this. High-value individuals attract equals, not drains, by embodying the wholeness they seek. You feel the shift profoundly, the way your heart expands, no longer contracting in service to their voids, but opening to the vastness of your own potential. As detachment takes root, a sense of rebirth emerges, the phoenix rising from the ashes of old bonds. The woman empowered by these truths navigates relationships not as a beggar for crumbs but as a queen selecting her court. Inner peace becomes her compass, guiding her away from the echoes of these 5 insidious asks, toward connections that honor mutual individuation. The unconscious, once a battleground, becomes a sanctuary, where shadows are integrated, not projected. Epictetus whispers encouragement, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. In heeding this, you win not just freedom, but the profound joy of a soul aligned, radiant in its solitude or in chosen companionship. With each breath of newfound detachment, the soul unfurls like a lotus in the dawn, rising above the murky waters of past entanglements. The archetypes that once ensnared you, the pleading child, the controlling tyrant, the devouring void, fade into mere echoes, lessons etched in the psyche's ledger rather than chains binding your steps. Jung's wisdom illuminates this evolution, the integration of the shadow not only within oneself but in recognizing it in others, allowing you to discern without judgment, to release without regret. This is the essence of emotional freedom, where the ego no longer clings to external validations but draws sustenance from the wellspring of inner truth. The 5 demands, once sirens calling you to shipwreck, now serve as beacons warning of shallow waters, guiding you toward deeper seas of self-possession. Imagine the expanse opening before you, a landscape where self-worth blooms untrammeled, rooted in the Stoic soil of Epictetus's teachings. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Those who ask for your reassurance, your conformity, your silence, your sacrifice, your rescue, they were but mirrors reflecting your own unhealed tendencies toward people-pleasing, the remnants of trauma's grip on the feminine unconscious. Modern psychology unveils this as the cycle of codependency, where low self-worth perpetuates attraction to the wounded, mistaking intensity for intimacy. But you, awakening to your sovereignty, shatter this illusion. You feel the surge of empowerment, the way your boundaries solidify like ancient walls, protecting the sacred garden of your psyche from invaders. In this realm of detachment, the process of individuation accelerates, the alchemical marriage of opposites within, masculine and feminine, conscious and unconscious, yielding a harmony that no external demand can disrupt. Marcus Aurelius's meditations become your mantra. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. No longer do you expend energy on fixing others' shadows, instead, you turn inward, confronting your own with compassion, transforming projected pain into personal power. The emotional charge intensifies, the liberation from guilt, the peace that settles when you cease chasing approval, the rebirth that follows the death of old patterns. Trauma's echoes, once deafening, soften into whispers, as neuroplasticity rewires your responses toward resilience, affirming that you are not defined by what you give away but by what you retain. The woman who embodies this truth navigates the world with a quiet intensity, her aura radiating the unshakable calm of one who has faced the abyss and emerged whole. She understands that staying away from these 5 things is not avoidance but alignment, a Stoic choice to preserve her virtue amid chaos. Seneca's letters resonate. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality, yet the reality of these demands was suffering enough, draining, distorting, diminishing. By detaching, you reclaim the narrative, authoring a story where your worth is intrinsic, not negotiated. You sense it profoundly, don't you? The lightness in your step, the clarity in your vision, the way connections now form from strength rather than need. As inner peace takes hold, the collective unconscious reveals its gifts, archetypes of the wise woman, the empowered goddess, emerging from the depths to guide your path. No longer do you project your anima onto others, seeking completion in flawed unions. Instead, you integrate her fully, becoming the lover, the mother, the warrior within. This detachment fosters a profound sense of rebirth, where each day dawns as an opportunity for self-discovery, unmarred by the shadows of yesteryear. Modern self-worth practices amplify this, affirmations rooted in evidence, boundaries enforced with grace, relationships chosen for enhancement rather than endurance. The emotional momentum builds toward transcendence, where freedom from external validation becomes the ultimate empowerment. You walk through life not as a seeker but as a finder, having unearthed the treasure within. Jung's call to individuation echoes, true wholeness arises from solitude's forge, not the crucible of codependent fires. The Stoics nod in agreement, Epictetus urging you to make the best use of what is in your power, Marcus Aurelius reminding that very little is needed to make a happy life. In releasing these demands, you embrace the minimalism of the soul, stripping away the superfluous to reveal the essential. Yet this journey is not solitary. It invites connections of a higher order, where 2 souls, each individuated, dance in mutual respect rather than desperate grasp. The psyche, once fractured, mends into a mosaic of strength, each piece a testament to the shadows faced and integrated. Trauma's legacy transforms from burden to badge, informing your empathy without eclipsing your light. You feel the culmination approaching, the serenity that blankets your being, the detachment that liberates rather than isolates, the rebirth that crowns you in your own divinity. In this sacred space, the woman who knows her worth emerges fully, her heart an open sky, unclouded by the storms of others. She chooses paths that honor her essence, relationships that reflect her growth, a life woven from threads of authenticity and peace. The veil lifts fully now, revealing the luminous core of the self, where emotional freedom reigns supreme and the chains of external validation dissolve into ether. The woman who has traversed the shadows of these 5 demands, each a projection of another's unintegrated psyche, stands transformed, her individuation complete in its eternal unfolding. Jung's archetypes, once adversaries in the unconscious theater, now allies in her sovereignty, the wise anima guiding intuition, the balanced animus forging resolve. No longer does she seek affirmation from the fractured, her worth is an inner flame, inextinguishable, fed by the Stoic virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Epictetus's dichotomy of control becomes her creed, what others demand lies beyond her domain, but her response, her detachment, is hers alone to wield. In this detachment, the psyche experiences a profound rebirth, emerging from the cocoon of codependency into the vastness of self-actualization. Modern trauma healing speaks of this as post-traumatic growth, where the scars of past entanglements alchemize into strengths, neural pathways rerouted toward empowerment rather than endurance. You feel the expansiveness, the way your spirit soars unbound, no longer tethered to the gravity of their needs. The 5 requests, once emotional quicksand, now markers on a map of what to avoid, reminders that true connection flourishes in reciprocity, not extraction. The empowered soul discerns with clarity, reassurance sought externally betrays inner voids, conformity demanded stifles the wild essence, silence enforced buries truths, sacrifice compelled erodes boundaries, rescue implored perpetuates cycles. By staying away, you honor the divine rhythm of your own becoming. Inner peace settles like a serene lake, reflecting the stars of your authentic self without distortion. Marcus Aurelius's reflections illuminate this tranquility. To live happily is an inward power of the soul. Freed from the tumult of projections, your days unfold in mindful presence, your nights in restorative solitude. The feminine unconscious, once shadowed by societal mandates to nurture at all costs, awakens to its full potency, the creatrix, the visionary, the guardian of her own realm. Detachment here is not isolation but elevation, a stoic elevation above the fray, where you observe the world's chaos with compassion yet remain untouched. Seneca warns against the folly of attachment. Cling, therefore, to this sound and wholesome plan of life, indulge the body just so far as suffices for good health. So too with the soul, indulge others' demands only insofar as they align with your wholeness, which is never. The emotional crescendo builds to ecstasy, a rebirth where self-worth becomes the cornerstone of existence. No longer do you chase the mirage of validation, you embody it, attracting mirrors of your own light rather than shadows seeking to dim it. Jung's process of individuation culminates in this integration, where the ego transcends its illusions, merging with the self in a symphony of unity. Trauma's remnants, those echoes of low self-esteem that once drew you to such askers, transform through shadow work into pillars of resilience. You sense the profundity, the way your heart pulses with unshakable peace, the way your mind clears of doubt, the way your body relaxes into trust. This is the freedom of the unbound woman, her path illuminated by inner wisdom, her choices deliberate and divine. As the archetypes align, the collective unconscious whispers affirmations: you are whole, you are worthy, you are free. The demands that once provoked inner turmoil now evoke only gentle detachment, a knowing smile at the lessons they imparted. Modern psychology reinforces this with the power of radical acceptance, embracing what is, releasing what isn't yours to carry. Epictetus echoes, don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will, then your life will flow well. In this flow, relationships become enhancements, not necessities, love a shared adventure, not a salvage operation. The rebirth is palpable, a phoenix-like emergence where the ashes of old bonds fertilize new growth, where peace pervades every breath. Detachment from external validation seals this transformation, the ultimate empowerment in a world rife with projections. You stand as the archetype of the sovereign feminine, your energy conserved for creations that uplift, connections that inspire. The Stoic path, intertwined with Jungian depth, leads to this pinnacle, a life of purpose, unmarred by the 5 insidious asks. Inner peace becomes your eternal companion, rebirth your daily reality, emotional freedom your birthright.